Tanks, heavily armed and armored combat vehicles propelled by two infinite metal chains, serve a single purpose: to support a country in its efforts to win a battle. Hey guys, welcome to our YouTube channel. Before we go on with this video, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Kindly click on the notification bell to get updates on our exciting content. In the aftermath of World War I, many countries recognized the need for tanks. Still, only a handful possessed the industrial means to design and produce such vehicles. When it came to tank design during and after World War I, Britain and France were the intellectual leaders, with other countries generally following and adopting their designs. After gaining an early advantage, the Soviet Union, working with Germany, rapidly eroded it through the 1930s as both countries proceeded to design and produce their own tanks. As a noteworthy consequence of the Treaty of Versailles, Germany's industrial output had been severely curtailed. Because of this, to get around Germany treaty restrictions, these industrial firms formed a partnership with the Soviet Union to legally manufacture and sell weapons. These industrial firms also worked together to establish an infrastructure to produce tanks, which later resulted in the production of the famous T-34 and other Soviet tanks. Imperial Russia experimented with so many designs, including the Tsar tank, which was discarded, and the Vedzkod, which never progressed beyond a pre-production model due to design flaws. The final tank designs of World War I featured several trends, such as the Mark 8 tank for heavy tanks constructed in the United Kingdom and the United States. On the other hand, the French Renault FT set the standard for practically all subsequent tanks, with more compact hulls and guns positioned in turrets. They also have lower track profiles. Following World War I, Britain maintained its technological superiority in tank design. British designs, particularly those from Vickers Armstrong, served as the inspiration for several Soviet tank designs of the 1930s, such as the BT series and the T-26. Vickers median Mark II designs included a fully rotating turret on top and dual-use 3-pounder gun, capable of blasting both anti-tank shells and high explosive. In contrast, Vickers Cardin-Lloyd machine gun carriers influenced tankette designs like the Soviet T-27. The Vickers A1E1 Independent, a massive multi-turreted heavy tank developed in 1925, was another important design that impacted the Soviets. It impacted the design of the Soviet T-35 heavy tank. In today's episode, we'll look into why are Russian tanks lighter and smaller than Western tanks. It's vital to remember that no tank in history has proven invulnerable. Virtually every excellent design decision comes with a trade-off, whether it's a trade-off in terms of immediate design, an economic or manufacturing trade-off, or something else. First, let's look at the variations in design philosophy between the Russian and Western tanks before proceeding. According to the Soviet tank design idea, there were two types of tanks: a less competent tank that could be produced in greater numbers, and a more capable tank that could be produced in fewer numbers but was better suited for tank battle. It's possible to observe these combinations with the T-64 and the T-54-55, or even with the T-80 and the T-72. In general, Western preferred to deploy a single main battle tank platform in order to construct a united fleet of tanks rather than many platforms. It was clear that the Soviet designers preferred to build tanks that were small, low profile, and not overly heavy in comparison to other countries. Meanwhile, Western vehicles grew increasingly huge and heavy over the second half of the 20th century, with the AMX-3 and Leopard 1 tanks serving as prominent outliers to this trend. The results of this difference in idea are easily obvious when, for example, comparing the Leopard 2 to the T-72 or the M1 Abrams family of tanks. Compared to Western rivals, the T-72s are substantially lighter, shorter, and smaller in overall size. This has certain advantages, in that T-72s are significantly less expensive to construct and maintain than Western tanks, allowing the operator to field a bigger fleet of T-72s than they could with Western tanks on the same budget, which has some advantages of its own. Contrary to popular belief, Western tank designs have gained popularity in recent years, owing in part to the perceived successes of their design as proven by their low casualties and engagements up until roughly 2006, and this has been the case since around 1980. In recent conflicts like Syria and Yemen, where rebel groups have gained access to more advanced anti-tank guided missiles, many Western tanks have been discovered to be particularly vulnerable. ATGM. To summarize, Western tank fleets are perceived as problematic equipment by their primary users due to the fact that they are too expensive to purchase and operate in large numbers, as well as being too heavy. which prevents them from being moved quickly to where they're needed in any significant quantity. Therefore, the majority of Western vehicles are highly likely to embrace the Russian design ideas of using an autoloader and incorporating it into their overall design. This is due to the fact that larger caliber firearms are anticipated as a future requirement. A human's ability to handle heavier ammunition becomes increasingly difficult as firearms become larger, so an autoloader is the most logical answer to this issue. This also makes it possible to reduce the number of crew members from 4 to 3 and even remove crews from the turret entirely, as previously stated. Engineers can build a vehicle with a reduced covered surface area. This is because the Russian tanks are smaller and lighter than their counterparts. So, saving weight and military planners may improve training while eliminating 25% of the personnel expenditures associated with a tank force. That is all there is to know on why Russian tanks are lighter and smaller than Western tanks. If you enjoyed this video, then go on and like it. Please kindly subscribe to our channel and click on the bell button for more of our updates.